Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August 21st, 2007 Board of Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Madam Chairman, 4 selectmen are present. Selectman Donahue is not present, and the Town Administrator, John McAuliffe, is present.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is a discussion with the police chief. Do you want to come on up, please?
I have an agenda. What's this? I don't know.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
We had asked you to come in this evening just because I don't know if you've read the papers or have seen any of our meetings, but we have been inundated with concerns regarding the deployment of security personnel insofar as incidents that have happened, most particularly in the onset area. And I can probably, if you'd like to, just make a statement, and then I can open it up to the board to ask maybe some specific questions, if that would be all right.
However you'd like to do it.
Okay.
I think the police department is certainly aware that there have been a number of complaints made. The department and myself personally have received a lot of negative attention in the local media concerning the complaints, specifically regarding the public's perception of our performance, I think, and the manner in which we've handled or are handling calls. Unfortunately, very few of those complaints are made directly to us. The majority of those complaints that were, actually all the complaints that were made directly to us were immediately reviewed and responded to. The majority of complaints, however, are coming by way of other offices or simply made to the press in general. They're eventually referred to us, and many of those are just general accusations absent any specific details that would allow us to review the issue or determine who might be involved with the problem. And I think we can't effectively address an issue if we don't have all the information in order to go back and look at it to try to determine what happened and what went wrong if something did. In order to be fair to everyone, I think we'd simply ask that if someone has a question or concern regarding a particular officer or an operational performance matter, that they call the administrative office at 295-3180. It's a local number, 508-295-3180, and allow us the opportunity to answer the questions. If after giving somebody the opportunity, or after giving us the opportunity to respond, they're still not comfortable with our explanation, then certainly they should feel free to take it beyond the police department. Provided, however, that we're first given the opportunity to address their concerns, I'm pretty confident that the majority of issues will be resolved pretty expeditiously, and we can get by a lot of the issues that have come out. I think we're aware that our shortage of staff has certainly made a significant difference in our ability to provide certain levels of policing, especially in the downtown village area of Onset. We've had this problem since I started on the department back years ago. The financial situation that descended on the town just was such that we didn't have the staffing or the personnel. Not having those officers on the street has certainly created a lot of problems and headaches for us. So, and I think it's affected everybody who's a local resident who goes through the area. You know, we don't have any of the walking beats. We haven't had any of the bike patrols this year, and we haven't had the extra cruisers. Probably the most positive response to any of this to date has been actually a conversation I was having with Mr. McAuliffe last week, and he had made some inquiries concerning certain matters, and we went back and we looked. We were in the process of using some grant money to purchase a new radar signboard that we use putting out around town at the various locations on various streets. And we've reallocated that money to allow us to put an extra patrol out specifically for directed patrols in those areas that we're having problems in. So that's, you know, I certainly would like to thank Mr. McCullough for suggesting that, because that's not something we had looked at. And actually, when we first talked about it, I thought we had already committed to the purchase. And in fact, the lieutenant had not committed to the purchase, and it was something that we were able to change around and work. So I think we're pleased that we've got an extra body out there, an extra patrolman, performing a lot of that function in the problem areas and addressing it. We've worked very hard in the Point Independence section. In that first block between North Water Street and Locust Street, we've had one hellacious problem all summer long. I think we had some numbers on that. Last year, in 06, we responded to 81 complaints in the Point area, which resulted in 13 arrests. This year, for the same period of time, comparing the same dates, we handled 114 complaints and affected 45 arrests. So we've seen an increase of 33 incidents, which isn't all that significant. It is significant, but it's not catastrophic. But we've seen a major increase in the number of arrests. The department has attempted, even with its resource issue, to address the problems that we've been able to identify. We've utilized our own staff. We've utilized the drug task force. We've conducted several raids in that area. And I think sharing the frustration of the poor neighbors and the abutters over the Point, we're very frustrated that we're arresting the same people. Actually, before the meeting this evening, the Lieutenant and I were actually going through the entries of names. And it's pretty frustrating to see the same names over and over again on multiple occasions that we're arresting in the same area for the same sorts of problems over there. So we're certainly attempting to address those concerns. I know that there's been some suggestion by people that we need to reallocate more resources to onset. I understand why somebody living in a particular neighborhood feels that way. Unfortunately, my job is to look at the town overall and to deploy the resources in accordance with the needs town-wide. And in doing that, we've pretty much divided the town into quadrants, and we conduct our general patrols based on those geographical boundaries. That whole process was reviewed recently. It was a big undertaking by the department staff. It included members of patrol in particular, because they're the ones out there doing it, supervisors, the dispatch staff, and the command staff. And the result was that the recommendation came back that we actually needed a fifth patrol area because of the size and the number of calls that we're facing. Unfortunately, the staffing doesn't permit us to go there. But what was interesting was a review of all of the calls that was conducted, and this was done just in May, April, May, I think, June, in the last certainly 6 months, the call volumes and how it was divided throughout the town. And it was pretty even. We were pretty pleased that what we were doing and what was being proposed still maintained the integrity of dividing the calls fairly evenly throughout the community. Now, all of that having been said, at the present time, the Onset Village area is part of what we refer to as the Onset South Patrol. And of the 4 areas in town, that is only the 3rd busiest. It's not the busiest area, it's not the 2nd busiest, it's the 3rd busiest. And it's only the 3rd busiest by, I think, 49 calls over the least busy area of town. And I guess there's been a lot of contention that crime has certainly run amok, specifically in the village. I guess we refute that simply on the basis that